I released this video on YouTube a number of years ago where I walked you through my worst real estate deal ever right before I sold this property. I called this my nightmare property because this property gave me so many headaches and it was the only deal that I have lost money on to date. Normally, I don't buy real estate to flip it or sell it, but this property gave me so many headaches that I just needed to get rid of this property and get rid of this pain. If you haven't seen that video yet, I'm gonna link it for you in the description below. That way you can really understand what happened. So I released that video years ago and I sold that property like a week after recording that video, and I tried to forget about that property because that one left me with a lot of nightmares. But YouTube being YouTube brought that video back to life and has been sharing it a lot recently. So I wanted to use this video as an opportunity to dive deeper into what happened. That way you can learn from my mistakes and really understand why that was my worst deal ever. So let me start with a little bit of backstory because I got into real estate kind of really indirectly. No one in my family was a real estate investor. I didn't know any real estate investors, but I wanted to get involved in real estate because I was reading all these money management books and these investment books, and every one of these books said that wealthy people invest in real estate. I had no idea what that meant, but I figured, if I want to be wealthy, I should invest in real estate too. I started college when the 2008 real estate crash was happening, and during that time, I was starting an event planning business that really started to take off, so I was hosting these college events and I was making good money while I was in college. I went to school in Michigan, and Michigan was hit hard by the 2008 crash because the whole Michigan economy almost relied entirely on the automotive industry. So when the automotive industry crashed and the real estate industry crashed, Michigan was slammed. And so homes that were once selling for $150,000 were selling for below $15,000 in like the blink of an eye. Now, I didn't know anything about real estate investing and I had nobody to talk to about real estate investing. So I just decided to jump in with both feet, and I bought my first property when I was 19 years old. It was a small condo and I paid like $8,000 for it. That was the whole price. That wasn't the down payment. I paid $8,000 to buy this condo and I leased it for like $600 a month. And I was like, wow, this real estate investing thing is pretty cool. Back then, this didn't seem like an amazing deal at the time. I just thought that was normal because I had no idea what normal was. This was my first time ever learning about real estate or real estate investing. And so I had never seen anything else. This was what I just thought was normal. So I created the system in my mind where anytime I made money, I would use it to buy real estate. That way I can create this passive income, this cash flow. So I hired a property management company, and this property management company turned out to not be a real property management company. There were a lot of real estate scams happening during the 2008 crash. And so this property management company I hired wasn't a real property management company, and they connected me to a contractor who was not licensed. The property management company was not licensed. They told me they were, and they connected me to a contractor that told me was licensed but was not licensed. So now I'm working with this contractor who told me he was licensed but was not licensed, and I was using this contractor to renovate my properties. Now, to be fair, the contractor was a good guy. He had a good heart. He was a nice person, but he ran into some financial trouble that I didn't know about. Long story short, this contractor told me that I needed to start buying some real estate in Detroit because property values were so cheap in Detroit and I could buy something for less than $20,000, put in very little work, and I could sell it for double the price, or I could rent it out for $700 to $1,000 a month. I was still going to college full time and I was running this event planning business, and I had done 2 deals to date and nothing major had gone wrong to this point. So I figured, okay, let's do it. You find me a deal. So the contractor found me a home for sale for $17,000, and he told me that we could renovate this property for less than $5,000, and after that I'd be able to rent it out and make a great return. Now, typically when I purchase a property, I have my own private property inspector walk through the property, and I have the city come out and they walk through the property with me. That way I can see exactly what work needs to be done. But I trusted my contractor, and he said, you know what, you don't need to worry about doing any of that. Just trust me with the money and I will make sure that this property makes you a ton of money. Big mistake. This property gave me my real life MBA. I didn't have any real formal business experience minus running a business. I was going to school thinking I was going to be a doctor. I didn't know any investors. I had no investing experience. I just jumped right in, and this was how I learned. I'm a trusting person by nature. I try to be honest, and I hope that people will be honest with me. But this contractor, turns out, he wanted me to buy this property not just because I would be able to make money, but because he was having financial issues, and he was hoping that this property would be a way for him to make some money to cover his financial expenses. So he pushed me to buy this home. That way I'd write him a check to do the repairs so he'd have some money to pay his back bills. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Oh, Jaspreet, these are just beginner mistakes. I can't believe you didn't know that. Even a baby would know better than to do that. Yeah, you're right. I probably should have known better, but I didn't. and this was how I learned. And this property set me up to be able to do much bigger deals and commercial deals and multifamily deals in the future profitably because I learned what not to do. This is what the numbers look like. I bought the property for $17,000 and the contractor told me that I'd be able to renovate the property and get it rent ready for between $5,000 and $5,500. So let's assume that I had to pay $5,500 to get it rent ready. That means this property would have cost me all in right around $22,500. I would be able to rent this property now for $750 a month. So if, assuming I have to pay out half of my rental income and expenses, so this is taxes, insurance, maintenance, vacancy costs, if I pay out half of this in my expenses, that would leave me with a 20% annual return on my cash just from cash flow. A 20% cash on cash return on your money is an amazing deal, which is why I figured, this sounds pretty good. The first problem was it cost me way more than $5,500 to get this property rent ready. As soon as I gave my contractor the check to start working, I don't think I gave him the full check. It was probably like $2,000 to $3,000. I stopped hearing from him. I didn't have a contract between me and the contractor. I just told him what work I wanted to get done, and he told me it'd be $5,000 to $5,500, and so I said fine. Wrote him a check, and I thought that'd be it because this is what we've done in the past, and it had worked, no problem. But this is where things started to come up because now he was having his own financial issues, so he stopped showing up. The work shouldn't have taken longer than a couple weeks, max. But we were months into the property and it was almost as if nothing had started yet. And this was getting really expensive because when you own a property, you have to pay property taxes and insurance. And every month that the property is not leased out, you are losing out on rent. And so I am paying for all these costs out of my pocket and nothing is being done. So it is getting expensive. And so this is when I started to get really irritated and I had to come up with a solution. Either I keep badgering my contractor to do the work, or I just got to eat up the cost and find somebody else to do the work. Well, I found somebody else who could do the work, and they told me that they'd be willing to do the work essentially for free as long as I pay for the materials and as long as I give them the home to stay in for a few months. And so I figured, okay, this is not going to cost me as much money out of pocket, so I'll just let them stay in the home, do the work at their own pace, and I'll have the property rent ready in just a few months, and I won't have to pay that much more money out of my pocket. This opened up a whole new can of worms because this person was staying in my property rent free, and he didn't have a lease, and he wasn't doing any work, and on top of all of that, we opened up the system at Home Depot where he could buy things on my account, and I figured he'd be buying things from Home Depot to do the work at my property, but he was buying things from Home Depot to do work at other people's properties. That way he could save some more money. So now I was stuck again. Luckily, I found a new property management company to hire, and these people were way more competent than the first property management company I hired. So I told them what was going on, and we came up with a plan to evict this person who was living in my property and not doing any work. So now, after all that headache, we finally get this contractor out, and the property is in way worse shape now than it was to begin with because this contractor who was living in the property just destroyed the property. I mean, everything was wrong. He kept his dog in the property and didn't take care of it, and there was dog crap literally everywhere throughout the property. It was bad. And so now we have this completely destroyed house that I have lost a ton of money on already that I have to figure out what to do with. If you enjoyed this short clip from my longer videos, here's another clip that I think you'll love. And while you're at it, if you're interested in learning more about how to start generating passive income, our team put together an amazing guide on how to start generating passive income for free. All you gotta do is click that button right over there. Thank you for watching, and as always, keep hustling.